Hey, here we go. Ja, einen wunderschönen guten Tag von mir. Ich bin Jahn, CEO von amasol und freue mich sehr, heute zu Ihnen zu sprechen. Ich habe den Dan mitgebracht von Gamma. Wir werden Ihnen zeigen, wie man mit AI von Event-Chaos zu praktisch autonomem Betrieb kommt. Ich weiß nicht, wer von Ihnen war letztes Jahr schon mal hier? War schon mal jemand hier? Nur ein paar. Okay, letztes Jahr war ich auch hier, stand auf der Bühne mit der Atruvia. Wir haben damals darüber gesprochen, dass man Observability braucht, um Klarheit zu bekommen in einer komplexen Welt, dass über 90% aller Incidents heute unbekannte Vorfälle sind, die noch nie da gewesen sind und die es gilt, in den Griff zu bekommen. Und so sehr wir uns auf der einen Seite freuen, AI dazu zu verwenden, uns im Betrieb zu unterstützen, der Vortrag von Bayer war ja gerade sehr eindrucksvoll, so sehr klafft eigentlich die Realität oder hinkt die Realität ein bisschen hinterher. Ich glaube, dass 2026 das Jahr sein wird, wo wir wirklich den Durchbruch im Betrieb schaffen werden, mit AI voranzukommen. Aber gleichzeitig gibt es halt auch Erhebungen, zum Beispiel von Riverbed, eine sehr gute Studie noch aus dem Ende letzten Jahres, die herausgefunden haben, dass 65% der Unternehmen reaktiv sind. Da ist es dann immer noch so, Ticket kommt rein und dann fängt die Bearbeitung der Tickets an. So, und das passt ja nicht mehr zusammen. Die Stabilität von IT geht runter. Und warum ist das eigentlich so? Warum kommen wir eigentlich so schlecht voran? Und ich glaube, es liegt daran, dass uns das Vertrauen in die Signale, die wir im Betrieb täglich bekommen, dass das einfach fehlt. Und wie schön wäre es, wenn man diese Klarheit hätte, die wir alle vom Autofahren kennen. Das sind eindeutige Signale. Wenn die erscheinen, weiß man sofort, was zu tun ist. So, und ich will das nicht ganz kurz machen. Wir als amasol sind spezialisiert auf das Thema Observability und es gibt eine relativ ganz simplifizierte Architektur, um das mal anzudeuten. Wir kennen diese fragmentierte Welt, alle mit verschiedenen Silos, Netzwerksysteme, Application Performance, wir haben das Security, SAP meistens und die User Experience und das ist im Grunde genommen unser On-Premise Classic IT-Stack. Der wird zwar von vielen modernen Herstellern immer gerne ignoriert, aber der ist immer noch da, der macht uns immer noch das Leben schwer und der wird auch nicht weggehen, so, zumindest nicht so schnell. Und dann gibt es auf der anderen Seite die etwas einfach zu handhabendere, moderne Welt mit Cloud Native, das kann man wunderbar Fullstack analysieren und monitoren. So, und jetzt haben wir diese beiden Welten und müssen das irgendwie zusammenbringen. Und deshalb geht eigentlich aus unserer Sicht kein Weg daran vorbei, diese Domains, und es gibt sicherlich noch viel mehr und das ist noch viel fragmentierter, als das hier zum Ausdruck kommt, zusammenzubringen. Und deswegen braucht man so ein Layer oben drüber. Wir nennen das Domain Agnostic AI Ops und unser Partner der Wahl ist hier die Firma BigPanda. Und ja, um das Ganze dann auch noch mal ein bisschen zukunftssicher zu machen und AI durchgängig anwendbar zu machen, sollte man das natürlich mit MCP-Verbindung, mit Möglichkeiten planen, die sind hier gegeben. Und dann gibt es halt zu den beiden Welten Service Desk, ITSM-Welt und zu der Observability Center of Excellence Welt. Das ist von uns ein Ansatz, den wir als Best Practice entwickelt haben, um sozusagen aus den Silos rauszukommen und organisatorisch das Thema Observability voranzubringen. Das braucht man aus unserer Sicht, um organisatorisch ein Unternehmen so zu transformieren, dass man mit den Informationen, die man im Betrieb gewinnt, auch arbeiten kann. Das ganz kurz als Einleitung. amasol ist spezialisiert, seit 25 Jahren am Markt. Wir sind europäisch mittlerweile aufgestellt. Wir glauben, dass das Thema Observability noch sehr viel Zukunft hat. Wir sind gerade am Anfang und haben hier verschiedene Standorte, sollen noch ein paar dazukommen. Wir haben eine Partnerselektion und sind mit einigen Partnern heute hier vor Ort, mit Broadcom, mit Riverbed, mit BigPanda und können Sie da gerne beraten. Wie gesagt, unser Ziel ist es, IT mit der Klarheit eines IT-Cockpits zu managen, und zwar proactively, also den Schalter von reaktiv auf proaktiv umzusetzen. Und das kriegen wir am besten damit hin, indem man in seine Daten, in seine Signale, die man generiert, Vertrauen schafft, baut. Und das ist die Grundlage für Automation und für AI. Then, over to you. Und jetzt zeige ich Ihnen jemand, der weiß, wie es geht und das schon umgesetzt hat. So.
Thanks, Frank. I didn't understand a word of that. As you can probably tell, I'm unfortunately British, but I'm sure it was amazing. Anyone that can name the name of our little mascot there, come see us, you win a pen. So, I'm going to about take you on a journey. My name's Dan. I work for Gamma. Show of hands, anyone heard of Gamma? Anyone heard of Starface? Cool, okay, so Gamma bought Starface back in 2025. We are expanding into Europe. We are one of the largest UCaaS providers, and as you can see there, this story really is around how we went on a journey. I'm going to take you on a very, very quick journey, hopefully to get us back on time. Gamma look after anything UCaaS, CSaaS, connectivity and mobile. That's kind of where we're at. We operate for our customers. This is a journey around BigPanda. Anyone heard of BigPanda? Show of hands. Cool. Hopefully you'll know a bit more about it after this. We had a problem in Gamma. We had too many alarms. Now, Gamma's grown through a really cool strategy of acquisitions. That was our strategy, expand into Europe through buying other companies. Now, the natural consequence of buying other companies is that you come with their own tech stack, lots of alerts, lots of monitoring. How on earth do we see across that entire thing efficiently without recruiting loads and loads of people? So this was our problem statement. We couldn't even consider automation. We know we needed to automate to grow. We know we needed to automate to figure out how we grow our company and integrate all these existing companies that we've just bought. Unfortunately, we were just trying to keep our head above the water to survive. We're around about 30,000 emails a day into our NOC, and the idea of, hey, something went wrong was that 30,000 increased to 100,000. Not a great way to do incident management. So I came in about 3 years ago, pretty much saw the problem straight away and said, hey, let's fix this, let's do something about it. No idea how, let's just go. These are the reasons that you'll likely get from engineers. We need to see the wood from the trees, that's fantastic. How do we do that? We need a central source of truth, yeah, again, fantastic. What this highlights is there's always a reason not to do something, right? And nothing changes if nothing changes. So where do you start? Okay, so what we did is we looked at the problem we're trying to fix, that 30,000 emails. Set the strategy. Strategy, really, whether it's a good or bad strategy, is just about repetition. If you repeat the strategy, it embeds, okay, and it then resonates. So you need to pick the problem, and you need to build a wrapper around it, one that resonates at an engineering level and at a senior level. And then communicate it, iterate it, every all-hands call, every team meeting, get everybody behind the strategy, get it rallied, because that's the only way it succeeds. So we know we've got a problem, we know we've got something to fix. This is effectively how we did it, and it's not something that was exacerbated or pretended to do. Literally day one, we've got a problem. Thing from my boss was, hey, let's fix it. Where do you start? Well, I just Googled best alerting software. Okay, I didn't put a cool logo, but it has got a cool logo. BigPanda came up top. I'm like, okay, that looks interesting. We had a situation where we'd had things like Xenos, we've got SolarWinds, we had a little bit of ServiceNow, Jira, all the high item tickets. BigPanda, never heard of them before. So we pressed the book a demo button, and we got contacted by some really cool people at BigPanda that said, let us help you. So day 15, 2 weeks in, we got the POC sorted. We got our use case set up. Day 60, that was from POC completing to signed a contract, embedded, onboarded, got all of our integration sources in. We hit 99.6% noise reduction. Now, what does that actually mean in reality? It means that 0.4% of what we used to see in the old world coming through our NOC was left. The rest disappeared. And what was that? That was servers shouting that they're broken, that continually shout and then go and fix themselves. That was Docker containers restarting. That was CPU spiking because we look after a lot of doctor surgeries. So at 9 a.m. when everyone picks up the phone to get an appointment, we see a spike in CPU. It's completely normal. So we went overnight from having a problem to not having a problem. This is a snapshot from our analytics dashboard. So you can see there in the top left, this was last week, 99.89% noise reduction. That means that we can now see the wood from the trees. We can see what actually matters. The rest of it is important, sure, and we can see it if we need to, but it's protected from the high-value engineers. We can focus on what actually matters and when. There's some other cool stats. I won't bore you them too much, but 50% operational workload. It means that our team are working not as hard to deal with the same amount of volume. And what that means is that we can create that value to then do more with less. So the noise is gone. Now what? Everyone's high-fiving. Fantastic. We did a thing, right? We got rid of the emails. So what? What does that actually mean? How do we cash the check? So we then decided, let's use all the data. We had this running for about a year. I've fast-forwarded very quickly through this period. So we have a lot of data. We know what normal looks like. We know what bad looks like. We use the incident data to look at patterns. There's only a finite number of things that can happen with infrastructure, right? It can reload. There's server logs. There's CPU, storage, some network ports. It's not a whole bunch of stuff that can actually go wrong. So 1-2 years in, we'd actually seen most of it happen. So this then allowed us to look at root cause analysis and say, well, if we can be confident of what happened last time, and we have the data that drives that, can we just do it? Why do we need somebody to validate that? Why do we need somebody to actually go ahead and fix the thing that we know is already broken using a method that we already know fixed it last time? So this is where we entered the world of AI ops, right? Massive, massive buzzword. It's still being defined. No one really knows what it actually means. To us, it meant, how do we look at historic data? How do we apply the fix in an autonomous fashion? So this was our strategy. This was what we set out at Gamma. This is what I set out at Gamma to effectively take us to that next stage. I wanted to implement AI ops to automate NOC actions based on AI analysis to drive down engagement to 5%. Now, what that actually means in plain English is, of the stuff that happens and goes wrong, I really only want our NOC to be doing 5% of it. The real headline, we're going to be on BBC News type stuff happening. I then wanted to look at how we then reduce the amount of shares out to ServiceNow and Jira. It's a costly exercise taking stuff out of a platform. So let's cut it down by 50%. And what that means is, how do we manage that 50% within the platform? And then implement self-clearing alerts. So, we had a situation where the NOC would go in. SNMP is a typical example of that. It will never really tell you when it's fixed. It will just keep complaining it's broken. So I want to get that down to 5%. And that was around how we intelligently bring that information back into the system. So this is BigPanda. Come and see us at the thing, and I can take you through our environment. But realistic, this is our incident. So this is an example incident. It's not one of ours, but it shows the setup. So you've got your incident in there. You've got AI analysis of, hey, this is what went wrong. You don't have to be an expert to understand what went wrong. In the far right there, you've got some really cool stuff. It's looked at historic incidents. It's looked at knowledge base articles in Confluence or whatever your system is of choice, SharePoint if you want. And it's then said, we think you should do this. Not only that, we are going to go and do it. So with that apply all button down there, we can press that and it will go and execute that runbook. So that's going to capture our business logic and it's going to then go off and apply it, which gives a really good capability as our operating model for the future. We can now take things that we've seen before. We can predict the issues that are going forward. We can then automate and remediate those routine incidents because we've seen them before. We know what we did last time. We know that we routed it to Jeff and he put a software fix into GitLab and that then fixed the issue or changed the alert threshold. We can do all of that because we've captured it in our runbooks. We can then optimize our spend so we can right-size our capacity and our tools to deal with that new volume. No longer are we having to right-size our teams and our platforms and our processes to just deal with 90,000 emails. And then we can elevate our teams. So rather than sitting in front of a desk all day moving emails between folders, we can now elevate them. We can say, you're no longer an alert receptionist, for example. You're now an L2 or an L3. We can now retrain you in this higher value work. And that's a win-win situation for both parties. So, as I said, there's a whistle-stop tour of effectively 2.5 years journey for Gamma. we fixed our alerting problem overnight. If you guys have an alerting problem, please do come and see us. I can talk you through intimately how we got to that. It's not an easy journey, but it's very, very real and doable. And like I say, if anyone can guess the name of our little mascot, please come and see us. Thank you.
Wonderful, Dan. Thank you very much. One last question from my side. How many alarms incidents do you have per month?
So we have 4.5 million events going through our pipeline, reduced to about 1,100 incidents a month.
And how many operational people did you before you
So
used
we had
AI?
32, and we're now down to around 8.
8. So it's really an outstanding story. I think you are really leading and you are showing results, and many others are dreaming of those results. Thank you very much for supporting me here.
Pleasure. Thank you.